This is my Terraria clone. Built in OpenGL from scratch, it not only has procedural world generation, structure loading, a building system, but also gave me several headaches beyond your comprehension. Okay, so after getting the basic renderer running, I just jumped straight into what makes Terraria, the world. Terraria has an infinitely procedurally generated world. I have done terrain generation before, but it wasn't infinite, so how do I make it? It begins with Parlin noise. I used a library called Fast Noise Light by this guy and experimented with displaying noise in the console. To apply Parlin noise to my very empty world, I need to create chunks. Chunks usually store a grid of tiles in memory. Mine works slightly differently by storing a simple position, which can be used later to determine the tiles which are in the chunk. We should also keep track of which chunks are loaded and which aren't, which is what this array is for. Each chunk is just a position, and when the camera gets close, I generate load or unload chunks and the tiles in them. Finally, we apply a graph function which smooths out our terrain. Huzzah! Terrain generation. Pause. Why is it so laggy? Hey, I'm editing the video and I just realized that I didn't have video for my laggy terrain generation, so imagine this is laggy. Continue. There's obviously a more efficient way to do this. Okay, instead of sampling a complicated formula every time to calculate noise, we can instead use a one-dimensional noise and sample from that. It's still laggy. Okay, how about we use batch rendering to optimize the drawing of the tiles? Multi-threading. We could use ChatGPT, give me a hand here. Since I had exams around this time, I stopped developing the program for a while. But after a month, I came back and solved the issue relatively quickly. And a simple solution it was. I was rendering hundreds of unique tiles at once. Instead, I decided that there would be one instance of the tile. It would be drawn in every tile position on the map, whilst sampling data from the said tile position, like the materials. Crisis over. Also, by layering several 1D noises on top of each other with some 2D noise, we can make some pleasant terrain with caves. Of course, we can't keep these Minecraft grass block textures. What kind of Terraria clone would that be? We use a tile map to sample a texture in the fragment shader, considering which material is in use and how many tiles surround it. It was a bit of a pain to implement, but this is essentially how it works. Tiles connect to their neighbors. So I wrote a system where every tile looks at the 4 tiles around it, ignoring air tiles, and gets a value. The UV map offsets are adjusted accordingly depending on the material of the tile, and picks the right texture automatically. We use our value from before to more specifically adjust our UV offsets to get the exact tile which we want, then pass it into the shader, zoom in on the tile map, add the offsets to finish the job. Beam bam boom, we got the nice looking terrain. Oh wait, crap, no wait. Ah yes, this nice looking terrain. Hold on, our version of Terraria is lacking a pretty important feature. To make a character, I firstly made a rectangle and applied gravity and collisions to it. Pretty crappy collisions. Then I wanted to add a sprite. Obviously the universe hates me, so I couldn't find a single sprite map of the classic Terraria guy. So I had to settle for this blank slate of a dude instead. I inevitably encountered some animation bugs, like my guy here doing jumping jacks. If only I could do that many. This is caused by this piece of code. Technically the player will always have a vertical velocity, since they need to be repelled away from the ground to stand on it. So I corrected the code and we got a normal guy. The process to break stuff is actually super simple, barely an inconvenience. Let me explain. We get the mouse coordinates, translate them to be in the local world coordinate system, then we get the hash key of the tile which the mouse clicks on, which is just the coordinate. Using the hash key we can change the material of the tile. That could be changing it to air to break stuff, or to change it to another material to build. Okay, but what kind of Terraria clone doesn't even have trees? I wasn't sure exactly how to add spawning structures robustly, but this is what I did. I wrote a function that checks whether a tile meets the requirements to have a tree spawn on it, like it being an air tile with a grass tile under it. And then it builds a tree tile by tile upwards by setting tiles in the tile hash map to be the applicable material. Except I kept getting these weird cases where trees would generate in broken looking segments. At first I thought the issue was chunk related, like trees splitting across chunks in Minecraft. But that didn't make sense because I was only editing the tile hash map, which had nothing to do with chunks really. I was in a bit of a pickle. Oh, never mind. I just had to add this chunk of code, which I realized after some testing. I don't know why. And that's the Terraria clone. It has infinite terrain generation, caves, trees, a player, and even building and mining, all running in my own OpenGL engine. And honestly, I learned a lot. This is just the first project on my roadmap for this year, so if you want to see me tackle bigger, better OpenGL projects, this is where it starts. Alright, see ya!